Have you ever been like scrolling online or maybe just walking past a storefront and you see this genuinely beautiful watch
Oh, yeah.
all the time? Right. And the tag on it is very clear. It says it's $5,000.
Pretty steep.
Very steep. But then you look a little closer and that 5,000 is crossed out in this thick red ink. And right underneath it, the new price is $500.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Almost immediately, your heart rate actually picks up a little bit. You feel this sudden, irresistible rush of adrenaline.
Yeah, that absolute certainty that you have just stumbled onto the deal of a lifetime.
Exactly. But what if I told you that feeling, that visceral biological reaction to finding a steal, has absolutely nothing to do with the watch itself?
Well, it doesn't.
Right. What if it has everything to do with, like, a neurological glitch triggered by the very first number your eyes landed on?
It is a profound illusion. And honestly, it happens to all of us. You are perfectly describing a moment where human perception is essentially hijacked.
Hijacked is the perfect word for it. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are looking at why that illusion is so incredibly powerful.
And how the very first number your eyes land on can completely warp your perception of reality.
We are figuring out exactly why our brains are so easily tricked by a simple price tag. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So, in that watch scenario, the actual physical value of the watch never changed, right?
Precisely. I mean, the physical materials, the weight of the metal, the craftsmanship of the glass, the prestige of the brand, none of it shifted.
Nothing changed at all.
Right. The only thing that changed was the first number you saw. And that is what behavioral economists and psychologists call the anchoring effect.
The anchoring effect.
Yes. It is one of the most reliable, almost invisible ways to bend human decision-making.
It really does feel invisible. Like course creators, online retailers, car dealerships, they use this trick constantly.
They absolutely do.
They show you a high price, say a $5,000 digital course, they cross it out and they drop it to $500.
And suddenly enrollment jumps.
People just pull out their credit cards. It's wild to think that a simple strike-through font can move real money like that.
Well, it moves real money because the brain treats that very first number it encounters as the ultimate truth.
Wait, really? The ultimate truth?
Yes. It establishes the baseline reality for that specific transaction.
Right.
From that exact moment on, every subsequent number you see is judged entirely against that initial anchor.
You know, I was thinking about this, and it reminds me of stepping off a really fast treadmill.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
You know that feeling, like you've been running at 7 miles an hour for 20 minutes, you hit stop, you step off onto the solid gym floor, and suddenly just walking at a normal, everyday pace feels like you're moving in fast forward.
Yeah, you feel totally off balance.
Exactly. Your body gets so used to the high speed that it can't just snap back to zero.
Yeah.
Your baseline reality gets completely skewed by whatever the initial setting was.
That's exactly it. Your sensory system calibrated to that 7-mile-an-hour baseline, and it physically couldn't reset the second the environment changed. Pricing works the exact same way.
Okay, so how does that translate to dollars and cents?
Well, in the realm of economics, a price tag has no inherent independent meaning.
What do you mean? $500 is $500.
Not to your brain. The concept of $500 means absolutely nothing unless it is standing right next to another price.
Oh, I see.
Without a starting number, $500 could be a fortune to someone or, an absolute bargain to someone else. The brain needs a comparison to make sense of the world.
But here's the thing that really trips me up.
Yeah.
If I am looking at that course or that watch and I consciously know the $5,000 crossed out price is just a marketing tactic,
Right.
like I am fully aware they just made that inflated number up to make the 500 look good. Why does my brain still fall for the deal?
It's frustrating, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Why do I still get that rush?
Because the human brain is utterly desperate for a reference point to evaluate worth. And evaluating true worth is exhausting.
Exhausting how?
Well, value is incredibly abstract. Think about what it would actually take to independently evaluate that watch.
I guess I'd have to know a lot about watches.
Exactly. You would need to calculate the raw cost of the glass, the market rate for the metal, the hourly wage of the leather worker, and then somehow assign a monetary value to the brand's prestige.
Okay, yeah, nobody's doing that in the middle of a shopping mall.
Right, that takes a tremendous amount of cognitive energy. Your brain just doesn't want to do all that heavy lifting.
It's lazy.
Efficient, but
Yeah.
yes, lazy. So when it is handed a reference point, even one you strongly suspect is inflated, it latches onto it to save energy.
Okay, I get the brain being lazy and wanting a shortcut.
Hey.
But There has to be a limit to this.
You'd think so.
Because if I'm buying a car, my brain isn't going to use the price of a ham sandwich as a reference point. The anchor has to be somewhat relevant to the product, right?
You'd certainly hope so.
It wouldn't just accept any random number as a baseline for reality.
But it absolutely does not have to be relevant.
Wait, seriously?
In fact, the anchor doesn't even need to be true or connected to the product in any logical way whatsoever.
That makes no sense.
I know, but the brain is so desperate for a starting line that it will grab onto literally anything.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because to prove that, we have to look at these classic, honestly mind-blowing psychological studies from Tversky and Kahneman back in 1974.
Yes, this is foundational behavioral economics.
Yeah.
Tversky and Kahneman wanted to see just how arbitrary an anchor could be before the brain rejected it.
Right. So they built a massive wheel of fortune.
They did. But, they rigged the wheel.
Oh, of course they rigged the wheel.
Yeah, they rigged this large spinning carnival wheel so that it would only ever land on two possible numbers.
Which were?
10 or 65.
Okay.
So they would bring a participant into the room, spin this giant physical wheel right in front of them, and let them watch the ticker loudly clack around until it landed on either 10 or 65.
So it's a literal game of chance. Like, the participant watches the whole thing and thinks it's a totally random, meaningless event.
Exactly. And then immediately after the wheel stopped, they asked the participant a completely unrelated question.
A trivia question, basically.
Right. They asked, what percentage of United Nations countries are African?
Which has absolutely zero to do with a carnival wheel.
Nothing at all. It is a complex geopolitical question. But the results were staggering.
What happened?
The participants who watched the wheel land on the number 10 guessed a median of 25%.
Okay.
The participants who watched the wheel land on 65 guessed a median of 45%.
That is just, it's absurd.
It's wild, isn't it?
A literal random spin of a wooden wheel moved their reality by 20 percentage points.
It did. The number from the wheel slipped into their subconscious and set the anchor.
Even though they knew it was random.
Yes. Even though their logical brain knew the wheel was a random physical object, their subconscious grabbed that number 10 or 65 and used it as the starting point for their guess about the United Nations.
And Tversky and Kahneman didn't just stop at the wheel.
No, they didn't.
They did this math experiment that completely broke my brain when I read about it. They gave people just 5 seconds to guess the answer to a massive multiplication problem.
Right, the sequence problem. The problem was multiplying the numbers 1 through 8.
Like 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7 times 8.
Exactly.
Which is impossible to calculate in your head in 5 seconds.
For most people, yes.
I mean, the real answer is 40,320.
But the genius of the study was in how they presented the sequence. Half the participants were shown the numbers in ascending order.
So starting with 1, then 2, then 3, all the way up to 8.
Right. The other half saw the exact same numbers, but in descending order, starting with 8, then 7, then 6, down to 1.
And the difference in their guesses is just wild.
It's huge.
The group that saw the sequence, starting with 1, guessed a median of 512. But the group that saw it starting with 8 guessed a median of 2,250.
And remember, it's the exact same math problem.
Exactly. It's the same numbers. Why does that happen?
This is where we see the mechanics of human working memory at play. The brain is trying to calculate rapidly.
Yeah, they only have 5 seconds.
In 5 seconds, it only has the processing power to get through the first 2 or 3 multiplications before the time is up.
Okay, so if I start with 1 times 2 times 3, my partial answer is just 6.
Exactly. It's a very small number, so your brain anchors low, panics because time is up, and extrapolates a small final number.
But if you start from the other side...
If you start with 8 times 7 times 6, your partial answer is suddenly 336. So your brain anchors high, realizes time is up, and assumes the final number must be massive. The brain literally cannot compute the rest, so it relies entirely on the trajectory of those first few digits.
Okay, wait, I have to push back on this a little.
Go ahead.
Because guessing the percentage of African countries in the UN or doing a massive multiplication problem in 5 seconds, those are incredibly hard, abstract tasks.
They are.
People were basically clueless, and when humans are clueless, they grasp at straws.
That's a fair point.
Does this actually translate to something people know the value of? Does this happen when people are spending their own money?
It is a highly valid skepticism. You might naturally assume this only happens when people are guessing in the dark on trivia questions.
Right.
But in that very same math experiment, the researchers actually paid participants for accuracy.
Wait, really? They put real money on it.
They put real financial stakes on the
So
line,
they were highly incentivized to be rational and get it right.
highly incentivized. And it didn't shrink the anchoring effect at all.
Not even a little bit.
Not at all. The brain defaults to the anchor, even when real money is on the line. Which brings us to the moment where this moves from abstract trivia into everyday consumer behavior.
Oh, man.
We have to talk about Dan Ariely's famous MIT wine auction.
Oh, this is the one. If you're listening to this deep dive right now, I want you to think about the last 2 digits of your own Social Security number.
It's a great exercise.
Just pull that number into your head. Because if you were in the room for this experiment, that totally random government number would dictate your spending habits.
It is a fascinating study. Ariely gathered 55 MIT students in a room.
And these are smart kids.
Highly analytical, intelligent individuals. He puts them in a room with a variety of consumer goods, like a nice bottle of wine, a computer keyboard, a trackball mouse, a design book, and a box of fancy Belgian chocolates.
Normal things that people buy all the time.
Yeah.
But before the students were allowed to bid real money on these items, Ariely had them do something extremely specific.
Yes. He asked every student to write down the last 2 digits of their own Social Security number at the top of the page,
Okay.
and then write that same number next to every single item up for auction as if it were a price.
Oh, that's so weird. So if your number was 34, you wrote down $34 next to the wine, $34 next to the keyboard, and so on.
Exactly.
A number that they consciously know is completely arbitrary.
Completely arbitrary.
It is literally a randomized serial number assigned to them at birth. It has absolutely nothing to do with Belgian chocolate.
Nothing at all. But the physical act of writing it down forced their brains to process that number right before evaluating the items.
Okay, so the anchor is set.
Then the actual auction began, using their real money.
Yeah.
What Ariely found was that the students whose Social Security numbers ended in high digits, say 80 to 99,
Yeah.
they bid significantly more money across every single product than the students with low digits, like 0, 1 to 20.
So if my Social Security number ends in 95, I'm just biologically destined to overpay for a computer mouse.
Statistically speaking, yes. The students with the highest numbers bid up to 346% more than the students with the lowest numbers.
346%.
Yes. Ariely coined a term for this phenomenon. He called it arbitrary coherence.
Arbitrary coherence. I mean, I love that phrase, but it sounds like a literal software glitch in human behavior.
It really does.
The starting number is completely meaningless. It's arbitrary, but once it lands on the paper, all future decisions just stubbornly, coherently align with it.
That's arbitrary coherence in a nutshell.
But surely once we know the glitch is there, we can beat it, right?
Yeah.
Can't we just turn off this arbitrary coherence by thinking harder?
What's fascinating here is that the anchor acts remarkably like a gravitational pull.
A gravitational pull.
Yes. The starting number is inherently meaningless, but the brain's desire to stay logically consistent with it is overwhelmingly strong. You can't just turn off gravity by knowing it exists. You can fight it, but it takes immense energy.
So it's not a matter of willpower.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But to prove that, we have to look at what is physically happening inside the skull.
Oh, this is the part that really proved to me that we can't just outthink this. The brain scans, right?
Yes. When neuroscientists put people in functional MRI machines, these massive brain scanners, and they expose them to anchor numbers while they make pricing decisions, the results completely upend how we think about this illusion.
Because when they look at those fMRI scans, it's not the lazy parts of the brain that light up, it's the prefrontal cortex.
Exactly.
And that is the exact region of the brain responsible for weighing options, for logical reasoning, and for controlling our impulses.
That is the critical distinction. You might assume anchoring is a lazy shortcut, the brain just going to sleep and blindly accepting a suggestion.
Right, like we said earlier.
But the brain scans show the exact opposite. The prefrontal cortex is highly active. It's burning calories, trying to make a rational choice.
So we are thinking hard.
Very hard. Anchoring is your brain doing active, strenuous evaluation. It is just doing that evaluation on a fundamentally rigged foundation.
It's like downloading a virus on your computer.
Oh, tell me more.
Like your prefrontal cortex is your antivirus software, right? It's running a deep scan, the fan is whirring, it's operating at 100% capacity doing all this heavy lifting.
Right.
But the file it's scanning has already been fundamentally rewritten by that first number. It's processing completely corrupted data.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. The antivirus is working, but the baseline code is compromised. And neuroscience has pinpointed this even further, specifically to a subregion called the right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex.
Which acts basically as the brain's ultimate fact checker, right?
Exactly. It's the skepticism engine. It's the part of the brain that says, hold on, does this make sense? Researchers have conducted studies where they use non-invasive electrical currents to safely stimulate this specific region while people are making financial choices.
They shocked their fact checker.
Safely stimulated. But yes, they found that if they boost the activity of this fact checker region, the grip of the anchoring effect actually weakens.
So the person becomes more resistant to the arbitrary number?
Exactly.
What happens if that fact checker goes offline?
Well, if they use those same currents to temporarily dampen the activity in that region, people cling much harder to the first number they see.
Oh, wow.
Their biological defense mechanism is literally lowered and the anchor sinks in deeper.
So what does this actually mean for our daily lives? Because, I mean, we aren't walking around with electrodes on our heads.
No, thankfully.
But things like stress, lack of sleep, and cognitive overload, those naturally drain the battery of our prefrontal cortex, don't they?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it means that resisting a deceptive price tag is a measurably neurological event.
Meaning it takes actual physical energy?
Yes. Cognitive load, so being tired from a long commute, being stressed about a work deadline, even just being highly distracted by notifications on your phone.
Yeah.
It leaves less physical energy for that right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex to do its fact-checking.
So if I go to the mall at 8 p.m. after a brutal day at the office, I am literally neurologically compromised.
Your biological shield against bad deals is significantly degraded. Your brain is exhausted, the skepticism engine is running on fumes, and an anchor offers an incredibly easy, energy-saving reference point.
That is terrifying.
You are far more likely to fall for that $500 crossed-out watch at 8 p.m. after a stressful day than you are at 10 a.m. on a relaxing Sunday morning after a cup of coffee.
Wow. Well, armed with that neurological reality, it's no wonder businesses are actively weaponizing this against us today.
They certainly are.
I really want to spend some time on the modern playbook because once you see how retailers and digital marketers are using this, you realize it is everywhere.
It really is. They are absolutely not just throwing numbers at a wall and hoping they stick. They are engaging in highly sophisticated framing techniques designed specifically to bypass that prefrontal cortex evaluation before your fact checker even boots up.
Let's talk about left digit bias because this is probably the most common one.
The 99 trick.
Right. We have all seen things priced at $997 instead of $1,000 or $19.99 instead of $20.
Everywhere you look.
Logically, as humans, we know it is a $3 or 1 cent difference. It is the exact same price. But neurologically, it works like magic. Why?
Because of the sequential way Western languages are read. We read from left to right.
Okay.
A computer processes the number 997 holistically, all at once. But a human eye processes the 9 first, then the next 9, then the 7.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Because our brains are trying to save time, we anchor on that very first digit we see on the left before our eyes have even finished reading the rest of the number.
So by the time I see the 97, my brain has already locked in the feeling of the 900s.
Exactly. The brain categorizes 997 firmly in the hundreds bucket, but 1,000 gets placed into the thousandth bucket.
Wow.
It's a massive perceptual leap, a totally different category of expense in the mind, triggered by a mathematically insignificant $3 difference.
Yeah.
The anchor is set by the very first digit.
That is wild.
Yeah.
And then there are decoy tiers, which I feel like I see every single time I sign up for a software subscription or a news website.
Decoy tiers are an absolute masterclass in anchoring. This is when a company presents you with 3 pricing plans side by side.
Right. You have a cheap, basic plan, an expensive premium plan, and a middle plan.
Yes.
And usually the middle plan is the one they actually want you to buy. But how do they get you to choose it?
By using the anchor.
Right. They make it look incredibly generous by placing a deliberately weaker, almost equally expensive option right next to it.
Let's use an example. Let's say a digital newspaper offers a web-only subscription for $50, a print-only subscription for $100, and a web and print subscription for $100.
Wait, why would anyone buy the print only for $100 if they can get both for the exact same price?
They wouldn't. And they aren't supposed to.
Oh, it's just a setup.
The print-only option is a decoy. It is a useless tier that exists solely to serve as an anchor.
Sneaky.
Very. By placing it there, the company frames the web and print option not as a $100 expense, but as a massive bargain where you are basically getting the web access for free.
So the decoy bypasses your skepticism engine by making the middle option look wildly rational.
Exactly.
And finally, there's a tactic I see all the time in the online education space. It's what we can call the extreme anchor.
Oh, yes.
This is when an influencer or a course creator explicitly compares their $500 online video course to the cost of a $15,000 traditional university tuition.
It is a classic misdirection, and it is highly effective because none of those numbers are technically lies.
Right, the $997 price is real.
Yes. The Decoy tier actually exists on the page. The university tuition truly is $15,000.
So when they say a university degree costs $15,000, but you can learn this today for just $500, they don't ever actually expect me to pay the $15,000 tuition.
No, not at all.
That number isn't a real option for me in that moment. It's just a neurological crowbar to pry open my perception of what $500 is worth.
A neurological crowbar.
Yeah.
That is exactly how it functions. The persuasion comes entirely from the order and the framing.
Because they have nothing to do with each other.
Right. The anchor was never actually about the product itself. The $15,000 four-year university degree has absolutely nothing to do with a $500 weekend video course. They are completely different products.
They really are.
It is only ever about which number gets into your brain first and which region of your brain allows it to stay there.
It's all about who gets to set the baseline first. If they set the baseline at 0, $500 feels incredibly expensive. But if they set it at $15,000, you feel like you're robbing them.
Exactly.
Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. To summarize, your perception of value is incredibly fragile.
Very fragile.
From Tversky and Kahneman's rigged carnival wheels to MIT students bidding on chocolate based on their social security numbers, our brains are constantly being hijacked by the first number they see. The prefrontal cortex, our ultimate fact-checker, gets fed a rigged starting point, and we confidently make decisions based on an illusion.
It is a humbling realization about how our minds operate. We like to think of ourselves as deeply rational creatures, but we are highly susceptible to the framing of our environment.
We really are.
And this raises an important question, something for you to consider long after this deep dive ends.
What's that?
But we have talked entirely about how retailers, marketers, and businesses use arbitrary anchors to manipulate us into spending our money.
Right, using it against us.
But if human brains are this easily hacked by random numbers, could you use this on yourself for good?
Oh, I see where you're going, like reverse engineering the glitch to help yourself.
Exactly. We know the brain needs a baseline. So what if you intentionally set a high baseline before making a difficult financial decision?
How would that work in real life?
Well, could you deliberately spend 10 minutes looking at multi-million-dollar mansions online before you check your own bank account or sit down to do your monthly budget?
Oh, that is brilliant. By forcing your brain to anchor on $20 million, suddenly the act of saving a few $100s feels like a much more achievable, lower-stress baseline.
The numbers feel smaller and more manageable.
I love that. A rigged foundation can actually be useful, provided you are the one doing the rigging.
Precisely. If your brain absolutely demands a first number to set its reality, maybe you should be the one choosing what that number is.
You get to set your own anchor and take back control of that prefrontal cortex. Well, the next time you see a $5,000 watch slashed to $500, just remember, the only thing that's truly on sale is your brain's attention. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, and we'll catch you next time.